nobody knocked down the Giants? That's what we got to be asking ourselves after seeing Cloud9's performance on day one. This is the Q. I am Belligerent. Welcome in to our Vainglory World Championships Day 1 recap series. Going to be releasing episodes all day long as I review what happened on day one. Just to recap real quick, they had a ton of issues on day one, which kind of delayed everything, so I wasn't able to watch the matches as they happened. I finally gave up and went to bed about 12:30 in the morning my time, when all I had seen was 7 minutes of gameplay, and not even that 7 minutes was uninterrupted by stream issues. So woke up this morning fresh and ready to go, and got to give them props on their YouTube channel at least, although there were so many failures on day one. Technically, they got all the YouTube videos up of all the matches, so we're going to be going through those all day long, releasing the recap. So if you don't have time to watch all of these matches one by one, you can always follow me for the recap. So let's get into this. Again, the way that we're doing this, and I will kind of recap this probably in every episode I say, because I don't know where you guys are going to start. You can skip around whichever way you want. Just listen to the matchups that you were interested in. So day one is 2-game series. It's not a best of 2. You can't have a best of 2. It's a 2-game series. It's a round robin in the group. The 2 teams with the most points at the end win. So right now, focusing on Group A. Cloud9 versus Elite 8 is the next series that we're talking about in this episode. So let's jump into it. Again, very dominating performance from Cloud9 when they faced Pain earlier in the night. Would they repeat against Elite 8? So game 1, the draft for you. Elite 8 on the A side, C9 on the B side. Elite 8 bans Lyra, C9 bans Turnwalker. Elite 8 takes the Black Feather, which gives C9 Vox, which is who we know that, or who we all know they want. Okay, then C9 bans the Rona, which is interesting with the Black Feather, but maybe they don't want to take the Rona as the counter to the Black Feather, and they don't want Elite 8 to have the Black Feather Rona comp. That's understandable. So C9 bans the Rona, Elite 8 bans Arden. C9 then grabs Koshka. Not surprising. Anybody who studies C9 knows that Vox Koshka is a huge comfort comp for Cloud9. Elite 8 then goes Baron and Lorelei. Okay, so let me tell you something about what C9 does. If you pick a captain that has no peel, okay, or very little of it, I'm talking about Catherine. No peel, right? She can stun you once and then you just kind of run past her. Lorelei, no peel. She has a stun. She kind of has the slows for the water and stuff like that. But for somebody like Koshka and Vox, it doesn't matter. They're just going to dash across it, okay? They are going to dive you so hard because you have no peel. You have no way to keep them off. So it's no surprise that the last pick coming out of C9 for this game 1 matchup was the Fortress. Vox Koshka Fortress, probably the scariest comp that you could hand Cloud9, especially when you have no deterrent, right? There's Black Feather, Baron, Lorelei. There's nothing to stop them. I'm sorry, Lorelei does not offer that. Okay, so get into the match here. Elite 8 actually manages to get the first blood, but it happened on kind of a miscommunication, it looked like, from Cloud9. Joseph and Gabe were kind of in the backs, and they started to mix it up with Elite 8, but then Elite 8 kind of left, rotating back up to the lane, and Gabe and Joseph focused on picking up their backs while Old School rotated down from the lane to help those two fight, but they weren't fighting anymore, which walked Old School right into all 3 of Elite 8. So just a little bit of a miscommunication there, a little hiccup that, believe me, would not deter C9 in this match at all. C9 responds to that by pulling off the trifecta, right? They get the ace, they get the gold mine, they get the first turret all in one play. Now, something that I picked up on, and it was also Excoundrel pointed it out on stream, is that their laner Hund Jaegers on this Baron chose to go with a tier 1 shield instead of a reflex block first. Okay. Well, on Baron, we all know you're going to go 4 item Baron, more than likely. And so you're only getting 1 defensive item. And when you have Koshka on the board, you have to have the reflex block. Okay. And there was no Crucible on the side of Elite 8 either for, the first 5 to 7 minutes. I don't remember exactly when I know that their captain did pick up the reflex block as his second item, but it took him a while to get there. Okay. I counted a total of at least, and there might have been some that I missed, but at least 5 Koshka ultimates that came out in this match that weren't blocked by Elite 8. Okay. But C9 gets that trifecta. They flip I don't know if you can even call it flipping the game, but they take the game. They focused on objective control on this match. That's what they do with these dive comps. They had this Crystal Sentry eliminated around the 11-minute mark. I love it. I love it. I love it. So many teams that I've talked to, or maybe when you hear me casting for the CSL, you hear me hammering teams on these opportunities to take out the Crystal Sentry, especially when you have a dive comp, a comp that just wants to chase down your enemies. And I've had this issue with teams that I've coached and things like that. Players underestimate the importance of that objective and taking that objective out, and C9 understands it so well. And when I talked about the C9 versus Pain, I talked about how they understood about that Crystal Sentry and did their little rotation to take it, not giving them the Crystal Sentry help there and things like that. So they take the Crystal Sentry out by 11 minutes. But, another thing I got to say is this match to me was a great demonstration of strategy by both teams. Even though it was very dominant for C9. C9 started snowballing. Their strategy take out the Crystal Sentry, just starve the Elite 8 out of their jungle. Objective. It was great. But Elite 8 responded in a way that I am a huge fan of. Now, it didn't work for them. C9 just simply outplayed them. There just wasn't enough for them to come back. But in this, you see so many teams just like lemmings continue to go forward and go forward and go forward. Elite 8 actually slowed it down. We saw the turtle strategy come out. They just kind of stayed in lane. They stuck to their backs. They would pick up the back train or the back money minions whenever they could, when C9 wasn't around to kill them or whatever. Hun Jaegers just farmed in the lane, actually got his Baron up to Sorrowblade with double monocles and an Aegis eventually at one point. But I love that strategy. And at least in the NA, we see it so many times where a team just gets snowballed and they don't know what to do and they aren't willing to try to just, slow it down. And they just keep like banging their head into the wall, trying to go into this team that they know is ahead of them. But Elite 8 didn't. They slowed it down. I thought it was a great attempt to come back. Their team fighting wasn't on point. So they didn't find the right opportunities to take advantage of the turtling and take advantage of some of the stability that they found. And I got to tell you, Joseph, like we don't already know this, but Joseph on Koshka is a god. And we know that he's so good on Koshka. But at the same time, it's like if you watch him, you start to understand why, right? You get into the late game here, and we actually got to the point where the captain for Elite 8 had Crucible. Both of their carries had at least a reflex block, if not an Aegis. And Joseph is so good at, he lets Old School use his wait for it on Vox, and that would bait out the Crucible from the captain to block out the silence, and just dance around the fight and use his like some of his spinning, and just like Elite 8 was like panic reflex blocking, and he would make sure that they used their reflex block before he used his ultimate. Like, I'm watching these ultimates because I told you I was kind of keeping track of them, and there were none that got reflex block. Why? Because when they did have reflex blocks, Joseph was holding the reflex block until they had or I'm sorry, Joseph was using the ultimate until they used their reflex block. So great by him. Game one finishes 11-1. Right, Elite Eight gets that one kill, and then C9 flips it, and just there was no looking back. But I did, like I said, enjoy the strategy from both teams. Okay, so let's get into game two here, right? C9 on A side, Elite 8 on B side. C9 starts out by banning the Arden. Elite 8 bans Vox. And finally, somebody taking Old School off of Vox. C9 goes with Churnwalker as their first pick. Elite 8 takes Lyra as their pick. And then we jump into the bans. Elite 8 bans Koshka. See, this is great adaptation. At least if Elite 8 was going out in this game, they weren't giving C9 their huge comfort picks. They weren't giving C9 two of the three heroes that just blew them up, right? So ban Vox, ban Koshka. Cloud9 then bans Kestrel. Elite 8 picks the Rona here, which I think is the mistake, because that's going to instantly put Old School on Sky, which is a huge counter for Rona. So, and that's exactly what they do. C9 picks Sky. They pick Blackfeather. And then Elite 8 picks Batiste. I don't understand the Batiste pick at all. Okay, let me take that back. I do understand like, in a vacuum, I understand the Batiste pick, right? You're going to use the Batiste Ordain to lock down the Sky so the Rona can get to the Sky. In a vacuum, I understand the strategy behind the Batiste pick. And I understand the possibility of like the Wombo combo where you get the red mist going and you fear people right back into the red mist. In fact, we saw that in a match that I was cast, the finals, I believe, I cast for CSL just recently. But I don't like it here. And I've said this over and over and over again. You don't pick Batiste into Blackfeather, because Blackfeather just ignores everything that Batiste wants to do. I think there, probably some better picks to try to, Taka, maybe, to try to counter that Sky or something. But I don't like the Batiste pick here, and it kind of showed itself in this match. But at first, right, we start out the match, Elite 8 gets the first 3 kills of the match, right? For, I don't know, about 5 to 7 minutes, C9 started to look a little human. But that didn't last. Okay. In fact, I'm pretty sure those are the only 3 kills that Elite 8 got all match. Okay. And it just didn't work out for them. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't the only 3 kills. They ended up getting a kill on Old School on the final push. So, but one thing that I noticed about Elite 8 in this match is that they're targeting their focus, their target focus was just so off. Like they were kind of all over the place. They were never focusing the same targets. And here's the other thing I noticed, and I noticed this in the Pain series, C9 versus Pain as well, and I think I forgot to point it out, but it's like, okay, so the Sky is picked to counter the Rona, but the player that's playing the Rona hero is constantly chasing the Sky. It's like they feared Old School on the Sky so much, it's like they felt like they had to kill him. So, like, Rona's chasing Sky, who you can't chase. That's the reason Sky is picked to counter the Rona, because she's too mobile for Rona. And Rona counters the Blackfeather, but instead of focusing the Rona on the Blackfeather to try to take advantage of that, we're going to chase the Sky around with Rona. Like, I don't get that. And then there was one, and I even sent out a tweet about it when it happened. They're in this team fight. They get Gabe Vizzle down way low and actually separated from his team, so they're fighting in the tri-bush. Gabe has to, like, rotate down to the shop bush. Elite 8 is pretty much in the tri-bush, and then that leaves Old School and Joseph kind of in that Treant/Crystal Century area of the jungle, right? And Hun Jaegers just, like, leaves his teammates and goes chasing Gabe Vizzle down to the shop. It's like, it was almost like a solo queue moment, right? You're in the middle of a team fight and the captain is way low, and you can now push in on the 2 carries, but your carry turns around and tries to chase down the captain, who's now separated from the team, who, by the way, is a turn walker and doesn't really have a great, it's not like an Arden who can vanguard or dash in or somewhere, or Lance who can roll over a wall, or Finn who can pull. He has no way to really re-engage and meet up with his team. But yet the Rona is off chasing the churn walker. So some targeting issues there. And then, C9 has just looked quicker, faster, stronger, as much as you can. Just smarter than their opponents so far in this tournament. Final Kraken push for C9. They're pushing in, and Elite 8 responds fantastically, right? They push the team fight. They jump on Old School. They actually get Old School killed, and now they got a 3-on-2, and they're fighting. And Gabe has Elite 8 chained, and Joseph says, to hell with this. He turns around, he rushes to the base, he helps the Kraken finish off the turret and finish off the crystal. And it's like, I'm not even going to give you the team fight that you need to turn this around. I'm just going to go finish because in this melee, they, like I said, they finally get Old School, but as a lot of teams do, they forget, like, the Kraken is pushing down your crystal turrets, bruh. And so Joseph just left and went and helped. They couldn't get back in time. They couldn't stop the Kraken. They couldn't stop Joseph. C9 cleans up this match in convincing fashion. The first game locked C9 into the quarterfinals, but this last game just finishes off with a 4-game sweep for C9. C9 looking really good. My pick to go all the way. I am Belligerent. This is the Q World Championship Vainglory Day 1 recaps. Have a good one.